Hello and welcome to Hidden Cumbria, the show where we look at the history and cultures of castles all around the district. Coming up, we have spooky facts, a haunted story, and everything you need to know about the ancient dwellings of Cumbria's noblemen. In today's episode, we are diving into the depths of Lowther Castle and the history behind it all. We sent our reporter Ellie on a whirlwind tour around the castle.
In the hidden depths of Cumbria, South Penrith, what was once a lost castle is now a thriving attraction.
Welcome to Lowther Castle. Come and take a look.
Full of history and stories ready to be explored. Today, we're exploring the ruins, gardens and woodlands to see what we can find. This castle was rescued after 50 years of being abandoned and has been many things from a fortress to a home. These were once large, elegant rooms centuries ago, but is now a home to all kinds of nature. Lowther Gardens is one of the biggest outdoor play areas in the country, which is an architectural foundation of the original castle, known as the Lost Castle. The magical aspect of this area is that it's as tall as the tree canopy.
Thanks for that, Ellie. Next up, Adam, our guest storyteller, will be taking us through the mystical hauntings of Lowther Castle. This story is all about Wicked Jimmy, the ghost who haunts the castle and its grounds. Over to you, Adam.
We've all got our fair share of spooky, scary stories, experiences that no one else would believe. Ever saw shadows at the corner of your eye? Believe it or not, stories and sightings of ghosts have been dated all the way back to the 5th century. A troubled soul stuck in between the afterlife, wandering around the earth forever. Of course, a lost castle riddled with history is bound to have a few troubled spirits latched onto it. From uncomfortable feelings, children crying, and people have spotted a woman with a child. This is just a part of its haunting activity. But have you ever heard of Wicked Jimmy? Sir James Lowther, the first Earl of Lonsdale, also known as Wicked Jimmy, one of the Georgians' richest men. His father died at a young age, causing him to be shipped off to boarding school. There he became a victim of bullying, alone and trapped in a boarding school of hell. He ended up inheriting not just his father's money, but riches came as he inherited 2 more sons on top of that. A troubled man with countless mistresses, a romantic soul would unfortunately be his downfall, as he fell in love with the daughter of one of his tenants, and they decided to marry. She unfortunately died young, which caused him great distress. He rode from Lowther to Hampshire for her body, and brought it back. only he was allowed to dress her corpse up, spend time and eat dinner with her, refusing to believe she had passed. This behaviour is said to have gone on for 7 weeks. He slumped into a Great Depression, and this lasted until he died in 1802. Wicked Jimmy's presence did not rest there. It is said that his corpse leaped from his coffin and attacked the clergyman, forcing a priest to bless his funeral. His spirit terrorizes the local farms, and it is said that on the anniversary of his death, he can be seen riding down Penrith with his horse and carriage.
Thank you, Adam, for that eerie story about Wicked Jimmy. Not many people get to have dinner with their dead lover for 7 weeks. Have any of you had any paranormal or unexplained experiences? If you have, why not get in touch with us using hidden@cumbria.com. You may get your experience told live on air. Have you ever had an encounter with a ghost, Adam?
I have, Tails, and it's a bone-shaking, blood-curdling tale. It all started when...
What are you doing?
Just setting the scene. Sorry. This story is set in the Brampton Halls of Residence at the University of Cumbria. A dark and stormy night, the rain pittering and pattering against the window. A crack of thunder wakens me from my slumber, and I hear loud banging coming off from the distance outside my door. So this prompted me to go and investigate. I left my room, and as I did, I heard a further loud bang come from the kitchen door. So I turned, walked through the hall, and opened the door as it creaked open. Staring me in the face there was the storage cupboard, and as I went to go investigate it, another loud bang came from it. I opened the doors, and staring in front of me was the hulking 6-foot figure of a man, and it turned out to be Harriet's cardboard cutout of Jimin staring down at me.
Wow. Thanks for that, Adam. A real chilling tale. But what really happened? Was it more you walked into a room in the evening, saw the cardboard cutout and screamed?
Yes.
Thanks for nothing, Adam. What about the residents of Cumbria, though? Have they had any weird, haunting experiences? Today we have Connor, Brandon and Jamie, who are local residents, telling us some of their experiences.
So when I was 10, I woke up one night to a lot of noise coming from the bathroom down the corridor. So I woke up, I got up and started making my way towards my parents' room. And as I was walking past the bathroom, which was just in between mine and my parents' room, I looked inside and there was a really tall shadow figure rummaging through one of the drawers. And as I stopped and looked at it, it turned round and looked at me. And then it turned around and carried back on rummaging. So I thought it was quite strange. I thought it was my dad. So I carried on through to my parents' room and got in bed. And I said to him, oh God, what a lot of noise my dad's making in the bathroom. It woke me up. And my dad woke up and looked at me and said, I'm here, lad. So I don't know what it was that day in the bathroom, but I will never forget that.
Hi. Firstly, thank you for letting me on your show. It's a brilliant thing to be here. I think the one thing I've never been able to explain is I remember when I was a bit younger, when I was about 12, me and my family go down to Cornwall every year, and so we know the people that own the campsite where we stopped for a couple of weeks. And one year we went down, and the campsite's right on the sea. And so when I looked out one morning, there's an old woman who owned the campsite, and she looked over to me, so I waved at her. She waved back, and I thought, oh, that's brilliant. Until the next day, when her daughter came round, and I just spoke to her about how I saw her mother, and said I haven't seen her in a very long time. And then that's when her daughter told me that her mother had died a year before. And so I was quite caught off guard by that, and I can swear down now that it was her. But yeah, thank you.
So my weirdest experience with ghosts is one night I went to bed, locked the door, turned the lights off, and I only have like one other light in the room, which is like from the bathroom, like the sink. And one night I was laid down in bed, I was completely tired, and anyway, like during the night, it felt like somebody had their hands around my throat, and it was completely freaky. I woke up, like as if like you felt somebody grab you, and then I just sat up and I was like, oh my god, what the hell was that? But yeah, it was definitely very creepy. And sometimes when I go in the kitchen to make food, the fridge will open and I come out of the corridor and the corridor lights off. And there was like once a woman stood in the glass, which was very freaky. I think it's the same ghost. But yeah, scary stuff.
Moving on. Here is some of that all-important trivia about Lowther and the surrounding areas that may just come in handy in your next pub quiz. Starting off, a man by the name of Robert Smirke was hired by the Lord Lowther to help design and build the Lowther Castle. However, he was not only known for that, as he also helped design and redesign many other places. For example, he helped redecorate the interior of Westminster Palace after the fires of 1834. What's interesting about the name Lowther is that the origin of the name can be traced all the way back to the Battle of Hastings. It was originally spelt Lorder in 1175 and was then changed to Lowther, where some people believe it was named after the River Lowther. Another notable Lowther ancestor is Mr. James Lowther, who sailed aboard the HMS Prince of Wales into battle and unfortunately went down as the ship sank. The Lowther family were also one of the first households to have their motto on a crest. As the Lowther name was very prominent before the 1700s, their motto was instead changed to their war cry, which was Magistratus Indicit Virum, which in translation means the magistracy shows the man. There aren't many places as seeped in history as the castles in Cumbria, and Lowther in particular has a story to tell. We sent our history buff and Connor to discover its story.
This is Lowther Castle. It was built from 1806 to 1814, but the roots of Lowther Castle go all the way back to the 14th century, when Edward III wanted to Sir Hugh de Lowther a charter to enclose a 200-acre tract of land for a deer park beside the River Lowther. But it was in 1150 that Dolphin, a Viking descendant, first settled at Lowther. In 1390, Sir Hugh Lowther built a peel, which is a fortified tower with a beacon at the top to ward off any invaders, as the Scottish armies had often tried to take the lands by force. Another tower was added in the 1500s, and then the following century, a central block joined the two towers. Around the time of 1630, the tower had an upgrade which took about 30 years to build. It had become a large country house for Sir John Lowther, but after another 30 years, it was demolished. In 1691, first Viscount John had the house taken down as he wanted a sandstone mansion, so he made that a reality. But in 1718, the upper storey and east wing were destroyed in a fire. In 1806, the first Earl of Lonsdale demolishes the remains of the mansion and replaced it by building what is now known as Lowther Castle. The Earl called in the architect Robert Smirke to create an impressive new house in the style of a medieval castle, incorporating the earlier ruined house. Lowther was Robert Smirke's first major commission, but at the age of 25, he already showed the skills that led him to design the British Museum in London in 1753. No expense was spared, and the finished castle was described as magnificent. In 1937, the 5th Earl's lifestyle was very expensive, so it brought financial difficulties to the family, which caused them to abandon the castle. The gates were locked and the gardens were hidden for over half a century.
Earlier in the programme, we asked for you to share your spooky experiences. We have had an overwhelming amount of messages from people telling us their experiences, so we chose to share some of our favourites. Let's start with a chilling story from Carlisle, Cumbria. Based within a rented apartment, just taking a photo of her daughter, the Cumbrian woman was shocked to discover a blurry, manifesting Victorian woman standing just behind the young girl. Spooky experience takes place within a prison. A correctional officer who worked at a jail commented that they saw a ghost one night. While on the computer, they noticed an inmate walking towards them, 7 feet away. She watched him from her peripheral vision, side eyes waiting for them to come closer. He stopped directly at the window, but when she turned to view him directly, he was gone. Now, Tails, I think I have another amazing story that you would love to...
I think that's all we have time for, sadly. But we will be sharing some of our other favourite spooky stories in our socials. Next week, we will be exploring one of the county's most famous castles, Muncaster. But for now, thank you to all of our guests and to all of you for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.